What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host, Caleb. Special shout out to my high contributing patrons, Newsome, you rock. Now, let's get into today's Deck Tech with Etrata, and today's an exciting one because we are not building an Assassin's Tribal deck. No, this is going to be a Tribal deck. With Etrata at the hand, this is going to be extremely busted because we can essentially double our board state every single turn. All of those cloaked creatures are going to be assassins, so if you deal damage with 5 assassins, boom, you get 5 cloaked creatures and that'll make 10, and then you're going to go ahead and get 20 and then 40. You can see what we're doing. We're just doubling our board state every single turn. So the main goal of the deck is to get maskwood nexus on the battlefield. That way it turns on all of our tribal synergies with other cards like manor. Now we are quadrupling our board every turn because everything's a rat and we can just sacrifice it to double our board state again. Stuff like Eureka is also going to be extremely busted, drawing a ton of cards and draining our opponents. That's going to be lethal super fast. Another one I'm extremely excited to run is Lord of the Nazgul. Now all of those 2/2 cloaked creatures with ward are going to be 9/9s, extremely busted. We are going to run other arcane adaptation effects. That way if we can't get our maskwood nexus, which I think we can do pretty consistently, but just in case it gets removed or we don't get into it early enough, arcane adaptation, just naming assassins, is going to make sure the deck is still going to work perfectly. So we're playing kind of a greedy strategy that requires a lot of pieces, but if plan A fails, we just name assassin and the deck is still going to work perfectly. So if that sounds like a deck you want to get into, let's get into it. Let's kick it off with the fun stuff. Yoriko Tiger Shadow is going to be insane in this deck. If we can get up to 10 Yoriko triggers, that has the possibility of just draining our opponents to death while drawing us cards. Siphon Sliver. Now, half of this deck is just full sending black market connections for those changelings. So lifelink might become important towards the late game. Siphon Sliver is going to be perfect for that. Solemgar is actually pretty insane. All we have to do is attack into the scariest board state, wipe their entire board, and it's going to ensure that they have no blockers at the same time. Tagwheel is just going to be a solid buff along with solid card advantage. manor can double our board state, so now we're going to be quadrupling our board state every turn, once from our commander and once from manor. That's going to get out of control very quickly. Barakos is just solid. It's going to net us 4 treasure tokens since all of our creatures are every creature type. Captain Nethrod's just going to be another solid way we are stealing our opponent's stuff. Mary is not only card advantage, but additionally ramps us up a little bit while being graveyard hate. Ramses is an extremely funny game ender in this deck. All we have to do is make sure we're really attacking one opponent most of the game, getting their life total low enough to where we can kill them at any point. Then we just cast Ramses, attack that player, and we've won the game. Lord of the Nazgul is a pseudo Craterhoof behemoth in this deck. All we have to do is cast one of those instant and sorcery spells, and boom, our entire board is now 9/9s. That's going to be extremely funny in my opinion. From there, we are going to run several changelings. Changelings are just going to make it to where if we don't have our maskwood nexus on the battlefield, these cards aren't useless and we're still getting a good amount of value out of them to justify putting them in the deck in the first place. Black market connections is one of the staples in this deck. If you already have maskwood nexus, go get this second. It's going to net you some changelings and additionally some card advantage along with ramp. Arcane adaptation, xenograft, and conspiracy is going to make it to where all of our creatures are going to be assassins. That way, whenever we're waiting for that maskwood nexus, we can at least get some of the game plan going. As long as all of our creatures are assassins, we are going to be at least doubling our board state every turn with our commander, which we're happy doing, especially when we're probably getting some broken cards off of our opponents in the process. Maskwood Nexus is the card you first tutor for or look for in your opening hands. This is just going to make sure the deck runs extremely smoothly. The new Massacre Girl is going to be perfect in this deck. It disincentivizes our opponents from blocking, which this commander really needs, and additionally, it's going to give us a solid form of card advantage. The other Massacre Girl is another assassin that's just going to act as a solid board wipe. We have Solemgar Assassin, a little bit of removal and very hard to block. Again, something our commander really wants in the early game. The Cyber Controller. Now, the Cyber Controller works really well with our commander's second ability because it doesn't care that it turned it upside down. It just cares that something's upside down and it's a creature. Well, the Cyber Controller can net us a ton of upside down creatures, and now we can cast those broken instant and sorcery spells or anything else using this guy and our commander. It's going to be extremely busted. And then we're going to run Roaming Throne because while everything is every creature type, let's double up on all of those triggers. Let's move on to the core of the deck. We are running Ouroboros and Cabal Coffers for that explosive mana. Additionally, we have Cryptcast in the deck. Not only does this provide explosive mana, additionally that Extort can come in handy, especially when we're draining ourselves with black market connections very consistently. Expedition Map can really help us out in the early game, hit our land drops, and then late game it'll just find us whatever part of the combo we're missing, either Ouroboros or Cabal Coffers. We have Sword Coast Sailor, making our commander unblockable in the early game is kind of solid, especially when people will want to block it because people don't like losing their cards. Imri, Lurker of the Lock, this is literally just in the deck so we can bring back the Maskwood Nexus. It is that important to our strategy. Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, again protecting our key pieces, pretty important in this deck. Thada Adel is actually pretty solid in today's meta. If people are kind of trying to build really strong decks, they're going to throw the One Ring in every deck. So instead of throwing the One Ring in every deck, why don't we just play Thada Adel, punish them for running the One Ring, we're going to take their card draw piece, and blame them for losing to it. Nighthawk Scavenger, again a very solid creature that gains us a ton of life. From there, we're actually running a healthy amount of tutors in this deck. I normally try to stay away from them, but just to make sure that this deck is going to be consistent at getting the Maskwood Nexus out, I thought it was appropriate here. Let's not forget that we are running Training Grounds as well. Lowering the activated ability of all of those creatures is going to be very useful. 4 mana is a ton, so lowering it to just 2 is going to be massive. From there, we have our card advantage. Night's Whisper is going to be super solid. We have Reconnaissance Mission and Biden of Thassa to draw us cards whenever we're connecting. Notably, Biden of Thassa is really useful because it can force one of our opponents to attack, getting rid of all of their blockers. That's going to be very useful for getting all of the triggers off of our commander. Kindred Discovery is just some solid card advantage that can draw us a ton of cards. Windfall, Jace's Archivist, and Echo of Eons are just going to ensure that we are drawing into the key pieces we need to make this deck work. Let's talk about our counter spell package. We have an Offer You Can't Refuse, Swan Song, and Arcane Denial. After that, we do get to run Memory Lapse in this deck. The fact that we can put their broken card that they're trying to cast on top of their library and then steal it from them next turn is going to be very salt-inducing, but very satisfying at the same time. Resculpt and Feed the Swarm are our removal spells of choice. Toxic Deluge as another solid board wipe, and we also run Raise the Palisade. This is going to be another one-sided board wipe since 9 times out of 10, all of our creatures will share a typing. Today's playtest. The issue with this commander is it's going to be a little harder to playtest since we don't know what we get off of the cloak ability, but we're just going to try to make a massive board state, double up on those creatures using our arcane adaptation effects, and just go for the beating the face win. Okay, we have Wayfarer's Bauble, Mind Stone, and yeah, this is all perfectly good. So let's go ahead and play this. 2 more basics, cool. Play our Wayfarer's Bauble, draw a card, next turn. Okay, yeah, we're doing really good actually because we have a tutor and we could get the Ouroboros thing online. Or we just grab our Maskwood Nexus. We'll see what we draw into. We don't have to make that decision right now. Let's grab a Swamp. Then go into our next turn. We'll go here, and I think we just double mana drop here. Actually, we'll mana drop and then commander. That'll be fine. So we can start getting those cloaked creatures out. Ooh, another assassin. And she's pretty good too. Whenever an opponent creature dies, exile. Okay. So something does have to die though, which again, that's another thing we aren't really able to track. That, and then we will swing in our commander and we'll just make a token, and this will be the number of cloaked creatures we have. That'll be 1. And we have 2 assassins, cool. Swamp. We will Night's Whisper, draw 2 cards. We're just ramping, guys. And then we can get the Forced Adaptation down here. Boom, everything's an assassin. We'll swing in here, here, and that will double our board state. So this will go to 4 creatures. So now we have 4 cloaked. Pretty solid. this is, I don't know. It's hard because we won't do it. We'll trigger it next turn, I guess. And then really need to get something going as far as card advantage goes. We could bite it here. Actually, you know what we'll do? Yeah, we'll grab the bite in. That way we can force someone to attack. And that will ensure that we know we can connect, if that makes sense. So boom, we'll swing in, double our board state again. So that's 1, 2, and then 4. So that'll go to 8. Boom. So now we've got 10 of these cloaked creatures, and we'll draw 1, 2, plus 4. Ooh, Eureka. Get rid of this, go to our next turn. We'll force one of our opponents to full swing, and then we'll go to our next turn. We force them using Bident of Thassa. That's why this one's also pretty good. In a deck where you want to be attacking with a lot of creatures, you can use Bident of Thassa, make them attack, and then you're good to go. Draw a ton of cards. We could Commander here. We don't have much, or we could do this here. We don't have much ninjas. I say we just full swing, see what we draw into with Arcane Adaptation. This will go to 20. Notably, someone's dead because they're 2/2s. So that's 20, and we've been hitting people for a while now. So that'll go to 22, I believe, actually. And then we'll draw 10 cards, 12 cards. Okay, we drew into a lot of good stuff. We'll go here, and then I think we just Cyber Controller. We also did get Fabricate. Okay, here's what we're gonna do, actually. This is how we're gonna win the game. We're gonna go Fabricate. We're gonna grab our Maskwood Nexus. Cast the Maskwood Nexus. So now every creature type. And then let's get Soul Ring out. Free mana. And then Eureka. Yes. Boom. Now we go to our next turn. We'll reveal a ton of... Actually, sorry, let's leave a blue up. And we'll tap down this instead. Actually, yeah, there we go. Yeah, leave a blue up. That way we can force someone to attack again. We force someone to attack, go to our next turn, and then we literally just full swing with our board, get all of the Yuriko triggers, and that's going to drain out the entire board. Because Yuriko says, whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's mana value. So we're just going to reveal, what is that? 22, 23, 24, 25 cards. So as long as those 25 cards, we get a couple 2-drops in there. Turn 8, that is going to be enough to drain the board. So there we go, we got there. And that was without knowing any of what the cloak cards were. I'm sure we could have gotten there faster, being able to cast some of the broken spells that our opponents are playing, especially if you ever exile something like a Crater Hoof Behemoth, you're just going to be solid. And yeah, actually, I'm not sure if the ETB happens. I'll have to look at the ruling on that. But anyway, any sort of buff thing, any sort of broken instant or sorcery, yeah, we could have probably gotten there faster, especially when we do have access to Ouroborg. We could have tutored for more mana, and then also we could have just slammed the Cyber Controller. We have a ton of mana right now, and the Cyber Controller would have absolutely wrecked our opponents and made us a massive board state. Like, I mean, if we cast Cyber Controller right now, that's 1, 2, 3, to cast them, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So everybody's going to mill 10 cards. That's going to net you a massive board state. So yeah, beats is a real strategy in this deck where you just start making a lot of tokens and just start hitting people in the face. So yeah, ignoring the whole point of the deck, the whole first ability, this commander does just kind of get there with a bunch of little creatures since you are doubling your board state every single turn. With that being said, let's end the video off here. Thank you to my patrons, Newsome, Excessum, Chicken Salad, Praetor. You guys are amazing. Really keep the channel going. If you guys want to become a patron and a part of the weekly voted deck tech that the patrons get a vote on, the link to the patrons in the description down below. With that being said, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you in the next one.